Next up is George Colony, the CEO of Forrester Research, who came 2 years ago already and had a very, very controversial talk. So I challenged George to come back and share his thoughts again. And he's very, very busy, so we're really glad to have him here. George. Thank you, George, for coming back.
Nice to see you, yeah. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you to Loic and also to Geraldine for having me here today for the 10th anniversary. It's great to be back. I was here 2 years ago, but it's wonderful to see everyone again in Paris. You know, Loic runs a very tight ship. He likes to keep his schedule very tight. So I thought to myself, well, I'll go to Paris with some words of brevity. I'll be very short. But it reminded me of the story of Gorbachev when he ran the Soviet Union, when he was the premier of the Soviet Union. He used to give very, very long speeches. And he gave a press conference in Moscow. And the world press was there. He gave a very long speech and very boring speech. And afterwards, he said, well, I'll have one-on-ones now with the press. So there was a young woman reporter from the London Times who had a one-on-one with Gorbachev. And she was so sick of hearing him talk, she said, Premier Gorbachev, could you sum up the Soviet economy in one word? And he looked at her and said, good. So she wrote this down on her pad. And then she was a little bit frustrated with this, so she looked at him and said, could you sum up the Soviet economy in 2 words? And Gorbachev looked at her and said, not good. So I will move quickly, but I will not be too brief this morning. I want to talk about a voyage that we're all on. Everyone in this room is on to what Forrester calls the age of the customer. And I'm going to talk about what that voyage will feel like, the new age, and then I will end my talk with an opportunity which will be afforded in the age of the customer. Let's look first at this period that we're going into. It is, Forrester believes, a 20-year business cycle in which the most successful enterprises will reinvent themselves to systematically understand and serve increasingly powerful customers. And of course, the question comes up, where is the power of the customer going to come from? Forrester believes there are 3 factors. 1, pricing, the ability of customers to get very precise pricing wherever it may be in the world. So 1, they're able to price precisely. Number 2, the ability to publicly critique products, services, companies. And I should tell you this morning in my hotel, when I walked in to brush my teeth and there were cockroaches in my bathroom, and I'm probably in a minority who would not, I did not take a picture and put it on my blog, but some, in fact, will do that these days. So incredible, the ability to critique. And then finally, the ability for customers to buy anything, at any time, anywhere, from anyone. Let's look at pricing first. Here's just an example. It's a very large chart with lots of data on it. The blue bars show you the percentage of airline tickets being bought online. So in 2000, it's approximately 10%. That's now risen to 60% in the year 2012. The red line is showing the cents per passenger mile paid to the airlines, dropping in 2000 from 19 cents to 2012 to 14 cents. So we can see the power of pricing, at least in the travel industry. If you look at critiques, and this is all European data, excuse me, do not have any US data, at least for this graphic. 17% of online customers now influenced by consumer ratings and reviews, 13% by friends and family, and 5% by online forums or blogs. And these numbers, according to Forrester's data, is rising quarter to quarter and year to year. In Europe now, 75% of all car buyers do not buy a car unless they have consulted online reviews. So pricing, critiquing, and then finally the ability to buy anywhere. Again, this is European data. 22% of European buyers now buying in websites outside of their home country. So number 1, we see in the age of the customer, greater power shifting now to the customer and to the consumer. We also see customers becoming very dynamic generation to generation. And I want to show you, this is The Generation X, that's age 28 to age 40. Next to the Generation Y, which is aged 18 to 28. And again, this is European online data. And I want to look at the behavioral changes between these two generations. Watching TV now, Generation Y, 21% less. Using internet, 24% more. Radio, 27% less. And by the way, these are generations contiguous. They're right next to each other. But we see this amazing behavioral change. Playing video games, 300% more for Generation Y. A major dynamic which is coming in our industry. We all understand that. And then finally, reading newspapers, Generation Y is now at 150% less than Generation X. So two generations right next to each other, very dynamic changes as we move forward. Now, Forrester is unable, actually it's illegal, for us to survey consumers younger than 18 in most countries. But we already have early data that shows that Generation Z, that's age 8 to age 18, is going to be as dynamically changed as Generation Y was from Generation X. Now, younger than Generation Z, we're also going to see, we think, incredible dynamism. Here's a video that shows that. She's trying to manipulate the magazine. Unsuccessfully. So that's Condé Nast publishes Marie Claire magazine. And I like to bug the executives. I say, you're making a product, a magazine, which will not work for anyone under the age of 10. So we see in the age of the customer, very powerful customers, two, dynamically changing as we look generation to generation. We also see now another change. And this is St. Peter's Square in the year 2005. This is in celebration of the life of John Paul II. We see one little cell phone there in the corner. Now we run the tape forward to 2013, April of 2013, when the new Pope was installed, the 266th Pope was installed. And this is what the scene looked like in 2013. And in fact, Forrester recently interviewed the photographer who took this picture, and he said he was taking pictures of the cardinals and the new pope, but then he looked down at this audience and said, wow, there's even a bigger story in this audience of the changing, how the customers, in fact, the consumer, the people are changing in society. So in the age of the customer is becoming very powerful, dynamically changing generation to generation, but we also now see what we call the mobile mind shift in that generation. And the mobile mind shift is defined as the expectation that any desired information or service is available on any appropriate device in context at your moment of need. And in fact, Forrester has measured the mobile mind shift. We call it the mobile mind shift index. And this next graphic is confusing algorithm, which I won't go into. But what this shows is, if you look at the right bar here, is that the mobile mind shift index for the average online consumer in the United States is 27.9. We then looked at male-female in the United States, and we find that males shift a little bit higher than the average to 30, and females shift a little bit lower to approximately 26. This was kind of cool. We looked at smartphone users. And we wanted to understand exactly how shifted the smartphone users were by brand. And you see the average 27.9. Windows phones, the least shifted, a mobile mind shift index of 30.5. BlackBerry, 37.7, the next highest shifted. Android at 30.8, 38.8. And the highest shifted in the mobile mind shift index user is the iPhone user, meaning that if your customers are primarily iPhone users, then they are going to be far more demanding of their expectations of to be able to get anything at any time, anywhere. And then we look at countries. This is the mobile mind shift index by country. So North America, US and Canada very close. We look at Latin America, Metro Argentina a little bit higher. In Asia Pacific, I was just out in Beijing a couple of weeks ago, and I will tell you, if you want to observe mobile mind shift, the most mobile mind shift customers in the world, you go to Asia. Xiaomi, who's a company, in fact, I think the head of marketing will be at this event. Xiaomi is a cell phone maker. They're 3 years old, and they're now $7 billion in revenue. And they have 20 million customers. It's actually kind of a geeky Android phone that they're selling. But we see Hong Kong, China, India shifted very high. Australia about the same as the US. Then we come to Europe, UK, France, and Germany. The lowest shifted in Europe. The highest shifted is Turkey. So we see this extraordinary change in the way customers are behaving, especially around mobile. Now, you have to be careful around mobile mind shift. You don't want to be too mobile mind shifted, because that might, in fact, cause you social problems. Keeps me from looking at my phone every 2 seconds. It also may put you in danger of wild animals.
Yeah, just a couple of minutes ago, the bear left the clearing in the backyard there, and he made his way over to the driveway over on Mayfield. He came down that driveway, down Mayfield, and now he's on Briggs, and now it looks like he's turning into another driveway here. We're going to kind of maneuver around and see if we can get another shot of him. But yeah, he was definitely
right there.
Oh, man. We got someone, a resident there.
He just
saw the bear.
And also walking in malls.
Tracy gets out and all awkwardly walks away.
Oh, she's okay. Luckily, there's a very enterprising bunch of people in New York helping out with this problem. Yeah, it's actually a joke. So, age of the customer, powerful customers, shifting generation to generation, and mobile mind shifted, thinking mobile at all times. So there are obviously many opportunities being opened up in the age of the customer, and I could spend a long time up here talking about those opportunities. I just want to talk about one opportunity being unlatched by the age of the customer, and Forrester calls this building mobile engagement, the way that companies will engage their customers in this mobile and mind-shifted world. It's kind of a simple concept. It says that in the future, companies will put themselves into the pockets of their customers, or into the pocketbooks of their customers, or into the backpacks, or into the briefcases of their customers. You know, I was here 2 years ago, and we talked about how the web is becoming less of a much less important medium. In fact, Forrester believes that the web will become the AM radio of digital. It'll always be around, low cost, but it is not going to be the place where most commerce is conducted. That is going to be primarily, we believe, on mobile devices. So the web dying off, and we're moving toward this world where companies are engaging via the mobile devices. As customers walk through time and space, companies are always with them, able to yield to them the services that they need at exactly the right time they need it. So here's an example. I flew yesterday, or several days ago, from Boston to Paris. And in a mobile engagement world, I would have gotten into my car. The driver would have known exactly where I was going, because the driver's systems would be interfacing with my systems. He would know that I'm going to Logan Airport in Boston. When I got to Logan Airport and I got out of the car, on my device it said, do you want to give this guy a tip or not? We tip in the United States. I'd say, yes, I want to tip him. He did a good job driving me here. I look at my device, it says, you want to go to Delta? You want to go to KLM Air France Delta? Look at my device, it says go through security. As I go through security, my device somehow is authenticating me, fingerprint, eye scan, I'm not really sure how, but there's an ecosystem with the TSA that's authenticating that it is me. I look at my device, it says go to gate 14. Go to gate 14. When I get to gate 14, my device says your Air France flight will be leaving in 17 minutes, and we will inform you when that flight is ready to leave. As I get onto my plane, I look at my device, it says go to seat 14C, that is your seat. As I sit down, it says, do you want your favorite drink? Yes, I do. Give me my favorite drink when we get up to cruising altitude. Then when I get to Paris, we reverse all of this. I get to my hotel in Paris, and I don't check into anybody. I just simply get on the elevator in my hotel, and the elevator knows exactly what floor I'm going to. It takes me to the 5th floor. Then I look at my device that says, go to room 570. And as I walk up to my room 570, the door automatically opens. Now, to do all of that requires an extraordinary ecosystem. And the next slide I'm about to show you is what I call the 1 trillion euro slide. It essentially describes the technology industry 5 years from now and how that technology industry will be yielding up this mobile engagement in the age of the customer. The ecosystem is composed of 5 elements. The first element, of course, are those devices, the device in your pocket, the sensors that you're surrounded by. And by the way, I believe in the world of mobile engagement that device will not simply be a phone or a messaging device or an internet connectivity device. It will be built for engagement. It will be built to be connecting to you, to be informing you. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work, but it is going to be a different device that we're holding in our hands or in our pockets today. So definitely insight from devices and sensors. Actually, some of these companies are here. Apple is here. Sense is here. That's Xiaomi. That's the cell phone company from China that I talked about. So that's a very important part of mobile engagement is that part of the ecosystem. Also in that ecosystem, the car that I drove in was recommended by a friend. The Air France flight that I took was recommended by a friend. So social is obviously a very big part of the inputs to this engagement that I had. Then we have smart products. All along my voyage from Boston to Paris, there were smart products that I was interacting with. There were sensors. There were probably 150 sensors that I walked by that connected to me, that knew that I was coming. So smart products are a very big part of this. These companies are actually all here. NetAtmo, I'm actually a customer of NetAtmo. That's a very cool device. Nest with the withing scale, early example of these types of devices. I'm actually a customer of withing scale too. That's very cool. And the Fitbit feeding into this customer, into the data, making this voyage for myself very fast. This gets a little enterprise for this audience. But if you look at the large corporations that are in the pockets of their customers, they will have to transform their systems of record, the database of that is containing the customer information. Those systems of record are going to have to be completely transformed to be what we call systems of engagement. Databases that are running so fast that they're able to yield that service exactly when I need it, and perhaps be able to yield the service even before I might know that I will need it. They may be anticipatory. This is going to be a very, very large business. If you wonder what L'Oreal and Renault, the systems people, those companies will be doing over the next several years, this is what they'll be working on, going from systems of record to systems of engagement. And then also in this picture is public as a service capabilities, GPS, payment systems, mapping. So you have Rackspace, Google, PayPal, Amazon, all at this conference, all a very big part of this ecosystem. And all of these inputs now feeding into what I call big customer data, which then yields to me this very context-rich mobile engagement and this extraordinary customer experience as customers move through time and space. If you could see yourself on this slide, you're going to make a lot of money in the future. If you want to start a new company, get onto this slide. This is where the technology industry will go over the next 3 to 5 years, the ability to yield this extraordinary experience in the age of the customer. So to conclude, age of the customer approaches, powerful customers, dynamically changing generation to generation, and mobily mind-shifted. And one of many opportunities, but a very big one, will be building mobile engagement. And my last thought for you, it is perhaps obvious, but I think it's profound, and that is that every company in the future will be a software company. It doesn't matter whether you sell insurance or tires. If you're Daimler, you will be a software company. And your most important asset, if you're going to grow as a business, if you're going to win customers and retain customers, will not be financial assets. They will be your software assets. And you will be in direct competition with Google, with Microsoft, with SAP, with Oracle for talent, but also to have the best software. That is the only way that you're going to win in the age of the customer. Thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. If you want a copy of my slides, go to my blog, the George Colony blog. By the way, it's not George Clooney. It may route you there, but it's the George Colony blog, and my slides are there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're on time.
That was awesome, George.
How about that, man? Not bad.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's good, yeah.
As always.
Thank you very much.
I'm really, really happy you came and showed that. Please come back.
I will do it. I'd love to come back. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, George.
Okay.
I'll see you in the mountains in Switzerland.
We'll see you in the mountains next month, exactly.
In January.
Thanks very much. Okay.
Thank you, George.
Okay.